The only thing is that the prices keep going up. So far, that's what we're seeing. I don't know if that's all organic or a little bit artificial.
There will be always opportunities, we just be prepared for it. And again, with everything, all other factors, even a first-time home buyer, don't overextend yourself.
Hey everyone, on today's episode, we're going to be talking about economy, mortgage rates, the future. There's a lot of changes happening right now in the market. I have Lubo with me. He's a mortgage broker. And Alexandra, he's working with Lubo together.
It's good to touch base. We are in Q2 of 2024.
That's right. It's more expensive now to buy houses. A lot of people don't even think that soon they can even afford it. Don't you agree?
So there's a lot
Fed was projecting that they're going to start cutting rates. We were projecting that the Fed's going to start cutting rates, and then they went the opposite direction. They start raising rents.
They went the opposite way. So I think sometimes when you are looking at that CNBC ticker and you're listening to what media says, think opposite way. Because you know what? When the Fed says I'm going to cut the rates in January, they said it will be 6 cuts. What does that mean for the mortgages? It does not mean the mortgage is going to be less expensive or there will be a reduction. What Fed does, essentially, to your point is like cost is going more expensive. So again, cutting the rates will start to be cut if the economy is struggling, right? If the economy is struggling, they cut the rates to lower the payments.
They say that economy is growing. They say that economy is doing good. They say inflation is great. But is it really? Is it really that everything is doing good? I have a feeling that it might be sugar-coated.
Before just coming here, the chair was on, again, he has a speech. From what my takeaways is, yes, economy is strong and 3% growth. It's not a bad growth.
Yeah.
But at the same time, just like you said, there could be a lot of sugar coating in that data.
Because it's an election year. It has to be looking good. It's got to be
look better before the fall.
Yeah, because I see some industries are having a hard time. You look at the logistics industry, you look at the IT industry, and probably others. I'm not into others too much, but I've seen the contractors saying that they don't have that much business because last year we were only selling 4 million homes versus previously we used to sell 6 million homes every year. So less home sales means less business for a lot of businesses. There are, close to real estate business, contractors, warranty companies, all that. At the end of the day, you got wars going on.
Again, everybody knows. Everybody goes to the store. Everybody, right, goes to you eat out or eat at home. Yeah. So you see the cost of inflation impacting it. And now, let's take a look at, if you're buying a home or you're renting a home, you literally, if you take a look where the interests were just 3-4 years ago versus where they're now, I think the statistics showing the payment based on the median size of the home and where the interest rates are, your payments literally went up like 95%. So you're talking about doubling.
I just read the statistics. 40% of homeowners right now can't even afford buying their own home in today's environment. Yeah. Because they bought it 3 years ago. They could afford buying it. Today, they can't even be their own buyers anymore.
Because of the county taxes went up.
Insurance cost went up. Interest on mortgages. We'll talk about that.
The purchase price.
Taxes, purchase price, insurance. What else? Yeah. Commission to the buyer's agent needs to be paid now. That's what I'm saying. The buyers feel like this home ownership train is going away.
Everybody has their own, their own needs. Yeah. Everybody has their own budget, what they can afford, what they cannot afford. And everybody should have goals, right? If somebody
is not able to buy $1 million house,
right? But if
I can't afford,
if it's your goal, that's great. But if you can't afford, then don't buy $1 million house because you're gonna get yourself in trouble, right? Find out the home, that sweet spot where it's gonna be comfortable for you to make the payment, but you can still afford your lifestyle.
Or maybe I should wait for the crash to happen and then I'll buy, because
We've been waiting for this for a few years now.
Yeah,
it's not happening.
I've heard about the crash from 2016,
right?
When I was still not in real estate. I heard from Robert Kiyosaki saying that there's a crash coming. It's been 8 years so far.
Yeah, it's still not crashing.
And so far, you can make millions of dollars in 8 years in real estate if you invest smart.
I mean, again, as far as the economy, as far as the real estate, I mean, it's a cyclical. We've had a good run right now.
Yeah.
At the same point, you really see, as far as the impact of the inflation and how it's really the accumulation factor. It's not that your inflation is running, 5-6% annually, but it's really the accumulation over the years. Mm-hmm. So anything that you buy, anything that you spend money on, if you take a cumulative impact of inflation, that starts to take the toll. And obviously, if you're trying to buy it at home and afford at home, there are really ways where you need to do your homework. You need to see how you can structure that transaction so it makes sense to you. And you need to be more selective. You need to be more prepared to make sure that if you go for that $1 million home, that it makes sense to you and actually you achieve those goals.
What's the average mortgage payment on $1 million home right now? Was it like 11,000? Was it gonna be like yeah, maybe probably 8,000? Huh?
No, close to 9, probably because of the county tax increase.
I just quoted somebody 600,000 condo in the city. So again, the down payment 10%. So you're coming out depending
6,000.
5,500, plus minus.
What's the mortgage applications level? Is it picking up? Is it down recently? Do you see any big moves?
Financing, and it's a purchase market. So when you talk about refinance, again, there is a category of people that apply for the refinance or try to get an equity line of credit. Mm-hmm. For people who are in need. It's either just some softening on a job, or really there's a need for cash. And again, values have been stable, so that's the opportunity, right? To go for that line of credit or to possibly to structure a cash out. And you know what? If you have lower interest rate, but you have over 100,000 in credit cards, which is 20+% interest rate, if you merge it, you still might come up ahead with a monthly payment or overall just weighted average interest rate. So that's the refinance. It's really not refinance to lower your payment because very few people were on adjustable rate mortgages. It was just lower interest rate, fixed rate loans. Mm-hmm. Purchase market, again, stable. Cyclically from February to May, that's where most of the activity for the purchase market. So we've been stable. Illinois has been stable. I mean, you can't say anything. I mean, just that first-time home buyer, it's been active. So we see stability. There are pockets. We are also active in Florida. And if you take new construction in Florida, throughout different pockets, West Coast, Sarasota area, Tampa, maybe a little bit south of Sarasota, we've seen really slower traffic. So when I talk to the agents that are on the ground,
because it was overinflated, probably.
Again,
too much heat on it.
So again, when you take Illinois, what's the increase in prices that you were say over the last few years annually? Single digit. But if you take Florida, it's probably double digit. Mm-hmm. So again, accumulation. If a home 4 or 5 years ago was, I don't know, 300,000-400,000.
I hear people going to Florida and that's it. That's the only spot everybody goes.
It happened because of the COVID. A lot of people started moving to Florida during the COVID. Yeah, because there was the rules for
every time we have a seller, you're moving out of state. Yeah, where? Florida.
Florida, yeah.
Florida. Always.
They're doing something.
Florida's a great state.
Right?
It's warm, no taxes. Yeah. It's great. Yeah. Business friendly.
Yeah, but again, anybody who it's a business friendly, I'll take that. But again, you still have to look at details. Yeah. Pay attention not just what's being said, kind of on what the output is on online or what you hear from people. Actually, if you plan to move, do your homework. Sure. Because you know what, when you say there's no state income tax, that is great. When you buy a home, it will be more expensive. Yeah. In Florida, closing costs will be more expensive. Transfer tax. So Florida is very smart.
They get you from the blind spots right there.
So when you do refinance, there's there are things that you really need to for a different person, for different family, different things matter. But do your homework. Just don't go blindsided. Hey, you just compare state to state. There's no state income tax, and Florida makes sense. Yes, that is true. But there are other factors. There are positives, but there might be some things. There are some takeaways that you need to compare. But generally speaking, Florida has been much more active than Illinois.
We've seen like Florida, we see Arizona, probably Nevada. Their prices are coming down because they went up too fast. Now they're
They went up too fast. And again, relatively speaking, Florida, there was a lot of people who retirees, right? So people retire, or winter birds who travel to Florida. That was just very common to move. And again, if your affordability entry level market was, single family home, about 300, plus minus. Now if it's over 500, that affordability is stretched, right, for somebody who is retired. So again, when agents are telling me there's no traffic, what does that translate? You're going to see fewer applications. So it does not matter where really the interest rates are. If there is no traffic, there will be slower sales.
So you're seeing lower applications in the Florida market?
You see lower applications. If you just take a pocket of, let's say, 3-4 years, right? I mean, you have a certain amount of individuals, families that would plan the move, right? So if the interest rates were in 3s or 4s, that move probably happened earlier, right? So so you just got a earlier transition, I want to say. So again, it's something that you would expect, right? I mean, you just cannot be increasing the number of moves to that level. I mean, it's going to slow down at some point because that move to happen, so people lock themselves in, moved or got second home. So you'll see some wave towards a little softer market, but essentially we do expect that to stabilize within some time.
I think also during the COVID, there was the program for the second home, and lots of people bought a house with like 10% down payment. There was this special program, so you don't have to invest a lot to buy the second home. And there was the market was booming there. So, people were buying for second homes with 10% down and rent it out and live there sometimes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Second home. Florida is a second home market. Yeah.
So second home market.
You don't have that here in Midwest.
Yeah. Here's another thing. Investment properties. Investors, the true kind of, just the big firms buying real estate. So again, in the markets where there is growth and not a single digit growth, but double digit growth, more investors. You talk about the big ones, even like Zillow or some large capital funded firms.
Blackstone.
They would invest into the markets that have significant growth. Yeah. So I mean, Orlando, same thing. When I talk to the agents, if you were individual and you wanted to buy a home as for a primary, could be a second home, you would be outbid by these firms. And now they, move themselves out.
They get out,
So they stop buying. At least stop buying. The levels have definitely decreased. If anything, again, if market slows down or softens, so think about it. They manage others' people money or other investors' money, and the market softens, they start losing money. What happens? They eventually will start listing some of the real estate. Back, some real estate will come back to the market. So again, maybe it's a good thing. There are some things, yes, prices went up, interest went up, but then you have some investors pulling back. And what's that? I mean, that could translate in some positivity, right? Lower prices, slower economy, hopefully rates will start lowering, getting better with what Fed is doing. I mean, again, they're watching. I mean, I think the watchdog, these are individuals, these economists, they really look at very details what's happening, and if there's struggles, I mean, they don't want to get economy into standstill or go into some negative.
You're gonna lower the rates,
right? So let's get economy moving, right? And who knows, maybe.
What about foreclosures? Is it picking up? I've seen a recent stat that there's a little pickup in foreclosures.
What happens when the prices are stable? What do people do?
When price is stable?
Yeah. So when somebody gets in trouble, cannot make the payment, lost their job, right, or took too much debt, or needs to move and can't afford to make the payments, what happens?
They just stay, don't pay.
Well, they can stay, right? But what they do is really they stay out of the foreclosure because if values are stable, they sell the home, right? You list the home in the market, and you really avoid.
Yeah, but you have to go somewhere. But you can't pay, so
right. But let's take scenario number 2. What if you're upside down? If your home was $400,000, you have a loan of $350,000, and let's say your home is now $300,000. What do? And you can't afford to make the payment. You go into foreclosure, right? Possibly foreclosure. I don't know. Maybe work out a deal with the servicer, to lower the payment and so on. But what happens? So to your question is, what are we seeing with the foreclosures? I mean, they're lower because of the good economy. If economy slows
Yes.
down, if values,
Going to show up.
they're not going to show up. So again, I expect them if economy a little bit slows down, if values soften, you'll see pick up in obviously in foreclosures. And again, will create opportunities, right? I mean, it will pick up inventory because we've seen inventory going up, right? I mean, relatively speaking, within the last year or so, it's better inventory.
A little bit, yeah.
And that should help. Again, less investors in the market, a lot of population that really bought that first time home. They're not in the market anymore for at least good 3, 4, 5 years before they move to the next step. So I mean, you definitely. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I don't know what you're saying, what trends you're seeing, but you'll start better. You'll see seeing better inventory on the market, I believe.
In today's market, it still makes sense to do the short sale instead of foreclosure because the prices went up over the last few years. So yeah, it's still better to do the short sale and like live there a few months or years without paying the mortgage and then just sell it.
But the prices have still kept going up. So how can you make a short sale? Like it's the price is still going up. Your loan, you have the equity and you keep getting equity every single day.
Yes.
Where is
But if you cannot make the payments, if you lost the job,
so if you lost the
you
job,
cannot afford
then
the
you just put it back
payments
for
anymore.
sale because you have equity.
You have equity, but what happens if you stop making
If
payments?
you stop making payments.
What if you stop making payments? You stop really caring after the property, right?
So your equity goes down.
Your equity goes down, but just the quality. Sometimes you need repairs.
Yeah.
Some things you say, listen, landscaping needs to be taken care of.
Yeah.
Some pipes leaking or anything in a house, something bad happens in a house.
You need to be not paying for a long time.
You defer that
Yeah.
maintenance.
You got to be not paying for a long time.
Right. So you're deferring that. So the reason there's a short sale.
So we need to have there's this moment where somebody stops paying and now we have to have like at least probably a year so
Over a
that
year.
equity goes away and problems occur.
Yep.
And then now it's a short sale. And now the short sale. So really for things to happen, we need probably about 2 years to see the result. Because maybe there's a lot of it happening right now. We just don't see it.
I mean, it's almost like, we say traffic. You start hearing things from borrowers. We get a lot of calls
Yeah.
for line of credit, which means
It's a little bell.
it's a little bell that
Red
people,
flag.
need to pull funding
Money.
from
You
somewhere
mean-
else,
yeah.
from resources. And right now,
And as you said, that lots of businesses are struggling right now. So
Mm-hmm.
even they want to open this like HELOC to get to invest in their business to pay
Which
off
is
their
risky
debt.
as hell,
It's very
you know?
risky.
well,
HELOC against your house to help the business. If you lost the money, you got businesses struggling, a house that's over leveraged.
it's one point, but the other point, line of credit is still much cheaper than any other debt.
How much? What's the interest on a line of credit? 9%?
So line of credit is based on prime. Again, Federal
is prime
Reserve
rate?
prime is 8.5.
8.5 still?
So you expect, again, if Fed does lower the rates, it goes 1-to-1. So if they lower the rates by 0.25% or a half, you'll see that improvement. So if Fed decreases the rates, does lower the rate one time, quarter
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
nice impact for the lines of credit. But if you're on a credit card, if you're paying over 20%, that 0.25% is not going to make that impact. So credit cards are very expensive. If you can
Get rid of them now.
you can get rid of it. Yeah, exactly.
Listen to Dave Ramsey, cut them in half. Get rid of them.
Yeah, it's one of there's good debt. There's there's good
Like
loan,
I'll tell
there's
you
bad
something.
loan.
This is
So,
outside of the housing thing. There's a lot of these programs buy think and get 0% APR for 18 months. And if you read everything and if you're responsible person, you will try to pay, like you pay 18 months and then after 18 months they tell you in order for you to pay no interest, your payment now goes up this much and then it goes up this much next month. And that's what, and like if you're not prepared for these payments to go up, if you buy something like a couch or I don't know, a walk-in closet remodel for 20 grand and finance it over 18 months, you have to be ready for these payments to start jumping. And if you not prepared, then there's interest on top of it. And now that's how you pay interest. That's how they make money. So these also like 0% things, you have to be careful. A lot of people think it's 0% and let's go.
We see the same situation from our end because a lot of people think APR it's a rate. So when they're like calling and asking, okay, I have the APR of 3%, I'm like, great. And it's like, isn't it right? Okay, no, it's not. So
What is
people
it?
need to understand what is APR.
What is
and
it?
what's it? What is it?
APR.
So it's a cost of the closing cost.
Well,
It's not like equal to the rate.
in a home financing or you go a car, there's interest rate, the note rate. So if your note rate is, let's say, 6% or 7, let's say 6%, right? But your APR will always be different.
Your APR will be higher.
Will be higher
It will
because
interest rate plus the closing cost.
Yeah.
which is
Okay.
and then broken over
So
the
basically,
term.
APR is something that is a total of everything.
APR, when the APR was created, to be able to compare the loans.
These financing people are always confuse regular people.
You know what? And if you're a regular person, you know what? I get 6% interest rate on a home, and you get 6% interest rate on a home, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you have a closing on, let's say, 30th of the month.
Yes.
30th of the month. So if you have 30th of the month, I have a closing on the 2nd of the month. My APR will be less than yours, and we got the same terms.
So I should be closing every time on the beginning of the month. I never knew this.
But-
Why didn't you never told me that?
Well, listen, that is not true. But you moved in on
You
the
just
30th.
told me that.
Well, I did APR. APR is just like, hey, for presentation purposes, your APR on paper looks lower. But the truth of the fact, you got exactly the same terms. The only thing is, you moved into the house on the 30th. So you prepaying the interest cost for you is for these extra 2 days. But you moved. You took the possession of the home, right? But APR calculation, that interest goes into APR. Now, if you moved on the 2nd of the month, okay, you literally getting 1 day credit for the first. So your bank is giving you money. But if you moved on the 1st of the month, your first monthly payment, so let's say, what are we in May? So let's say you close June 1st. Your first payment is July 1st.
Yes.
But if you moved in on, so July 1st payment, but they give you one day of interest. I mean, but
Don't
if-
understand anything.
Okay, you don't
So
pay
confusing.
you don't
Good.
pay interest for the
See, yeah, these
current
financing
months.
people are confusing everybody.
So the main thing is, what you need to do again when you analyze the loan. Listen, there's a lot of things we're talking about affordability. So number one is same thing as you're buying a car. If you can afford $500 car, you don't go and buy $1,500 car, right? So same thing on a home loan. If everybody's asking what's the interest rate, well, if you cannot afford, if you can afford, let's say, only $2,500 payment, but the interest rate is much better on a 15-year, but your payment goes up by, I don't know, $700, you can't afford it, then that interest rate doesn't
do
do
it.
anything.
Yeah.
So
Don't do it.
but the basic thing about APR is, it can be it's just almost not intentionally, but just the way the calculation was set up, it does not give you a true picture. So really, that's what you need to understand is, APR, you can pay attention to it, but as a simple person, in addition to everything, not all closing fees go into APR. So it's a very confusing term. Everybody
Yeah.
talks about it.
Crazy
But if you
confusing.
go to the closing and ask your attorney, ask your title company, if they can line by item show you which APR closing costs, which APR are APR related closing fees. I'll give you a
100%.
bet 99% won't be able to tell you which goes in there.
Yeah.
So that's
That's how they get you.
so
That's how they get. It's all in hidden fees and all
so
that.
so again.
Don't pay attention to APR.
Yeah.
That's really doesn't say anything.
For the buyer, most importantly, like look at your monthly payments. Make sure you can afford. Make sure you're comfortable. See your options. Lower down payment, more down payment. Is that true that if you put less down payment, sometimes interest rates is better? Is that something that you've seen or no? Or it's always the more money
for
down, the better
first-time
rate.
home buyer. No, it's for first-time home buyer.
For the first time home buyer, if you do less down payment, you had better
It
rate?
doesn't matter. You can put a 3% down payment, or you can put 20% down.
The rate is the same.
rate. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Now-
I've heard it recently.
Well,
I don't know if
that again, same thing as in your in industry. There's a lot of changes. Same thing in financing industry. There is some grid where you actually, if you put in 15%, you could have better rate if your score is worse. Okay, so it's just if you have a score of 760 plus, then it then really doesn't matter. Your
How much down
interest
you
rate-
pay.
Right. I mean, your
yeah,
interest rate
you
will be there.
qualify for whatever.
Yeah, but with the lower scores, it's weird how it is, but sometimes lower payment can help you a little bit. But again, what Alexandra said is if you're first-time buyer, if you're truly a first-time buyer under conventional financing right now, As long as your income does not exceed, there is a threshold for, for each area. As long as it does not exceed that threshold, your interest rate will be the same regardless of the down payment.
But if you make more money,
no, that's it. If you make more money, your interest rate can be higher. Now that's it.
And you buy condominium with 5% down.
Condos always interest rates is higher.
Higher.
Okay.
And if you make
but if you make more money than a median income, you pay higher interest.
No, even if you don't qualify for the program first time home buyer, so it's like even though it's your first house that you're buying, you don't qualify for this program, you buy in condominium with 5% down, the rate's going to be the highest.
What about that regular house?
It's not going to be as high as for
my income. My interest rate is going to be lower if my income is lower.
So you everybody has a car almost, right? I mean, you have a gas. Your gas car, you go tank the gas, and you go to the gas station, and you have paying, I don't know, you're paying like, I don't know, $4.50 or something here. I just came from California. It's, about $2 higher. It's not the cost of gas that's higher. It's the tax. So think about when you get that mortgage, the reason your rate is higher, these Fannies, they made these adjustments where it's really, I don't know why, but they are kind of charging you higher costs for the risk of the loan. You pay more money, so it's almost like it's not cold tax, but that's what it is. It's just.
But the risk is less for the bank when I make more money, isn't it? Right? They should be giving me the best rate if I have a higher income and I put more money down.
No, because you make more money, so you need to pay more.
But the risk is less.
Yeah,
but you make more money. You make more money.
So what? I need to give you more?
Have money to pay
so
more.
Essentially,
I don't understand this.
So essentially, here's how the changes.
This
is ridiculous. I make more money and I pay higher interest.
Yes, because you make more money.
What do you mean? Because you make more? The bread is $2.50. For you, it's $2.50. Because you make more money, you $2.75.
Listen.
No.
So this is how you're looking here. Why should I pay higher interest rate if I make more money?
That's right.
But really, the other side of it is, if you try to buy a first-time home buyer, right, and you want to try to afford a home, right? So it's more really the government saying, listen, let's get the opportunity for people who are within those lower income limits, right?
Yes.
Let's give them a little bit discount.
Yeah.
So it's not
credit.
Right. So it's like you're higher. Well, better terms for the rates. Right. So it's not that you're paying higher. It's just person who makes less gets a little bit discount.
Okay, that's a smart way to put it. Okay, I understand. So that's for them. Those who make more, they just pay the regular fee. They don't get a discount.
Yes.
But those who make less, they get a discount.
There you go.
So, okay, now I just need to show whoever is listening, they just need to show less income.
Right. And credit scores, credit scores, even though
it's everything, yeah.
Because your rate can be the same, you could sometimes first-time home buyer, you're within these income limits and your score could be 680, 680 or 780, same rate. Okay, right? Not fair. I understand it's not fair, but the person who has 680 will still pay more. Because if you're putting less than 20%, their mortgage insurance will go through the roof.
And so how do you run all this? You have an app that you put all the data and then it spits out, or you submit it to the bank and bank emails you back? So how does that work in the back end?
Yeah, so the mortgage insurance is like, how you apply for the car insurance.
Yeah.
So there are factors. There are some factors, the formula, it's hidden. We don't know what the formula is.
Do you know, like in your screen, if I'm on the phone with you, can you plug it in your screen and see it, or you have to submit it somewhere, wait for somebody to reach it?
You need to know exact credit score.
Okay, you know it, and then what do? You plug it in somewhere, and then the formula spits out?
Yes.
You run like a quote, like insurance quote.
It takes a minute?
Yeah.
Few minutes if you have the credit score, if you have the income, and you
pay for it as a lender?
Also, so when your DTI is over 45%, no, we don't pay.
What's DTI?
Debt to income ratio.
What's debt to income ratio?
So how about your payment? If your payment is really high, if all your payments exceed 45% of your income, so let's say
you're at the higher risk.
You are a risk.
Yeah, you're a risk.
So you should be at the 45% of your total income. If I make $5,000 per month, my total debt
to
$2,200, no more for cars.
Yeah.
Or if I'm renting included or no?
No.
See, that's the problem.
Renting, I'm sorry.
Rent
apartment. Is it included or no?
But you're buying
in my $2,200.
No.
It's not included.
Because you buy in a house that
Got
you
it.
gotta occupy.
Got it. Oh, now my payments for my property that I'm buying has to fit into the
Yes.
2,200.
Yes.
How am I supposed to afford that? Like
You have to
22
make more money.
So $5,000
If you
per
make it.
month, which is 60,000 a year.
Yeah.
I can't really qualify for nothing.
It,
You can.
it's
if
not
you-
going to be single family $400,000 home.
Yeah, because I
3%
have a
down
car
payment.
with $300 per month, or probably 4 or 5. And then I got, what else you calculating into expenses? What else you
Everything like
looking?
expenses, credit
Student
cards.
loans.
How do you know
have
how much I
student
spend for
loans.
food? I got no student loan.
No.
Let's say.
Food is not included. Just the
is
liabilities,
not-
so the credit cards, education loans, car loans.
Can I may have a zero?
Yeah. Then
can be
your
at
total
zero.
payment for your house.
You
that you're
calculate
buying-
phone bills?
No.
Oh, then it's a little bit easier to qualify. So you like liabilities, credit cards paid off, no car payments, and I got no student loan.
So again, it's a threshold, right? I mean, we're talking about what you can afford or not. You as a person, right? You you say, okay, I'm making 60 grand.
Yeah.
That's 5,000 a month. How much is going for the Uncle Sam, right? A third of it, right? And then you look at your home. So
And then you look at the what's left, and then you do 45% on what's left.
well, we do gross.
Gross.
We do gross,
Gross.
but you as an individual, you as a you're a single person or as a family, you
you
say
need you do your own calculations.
right. You do your own and say, you know what? Even if I give you the loan, let's say making 5,000 a month, if I could get you a loan for for 20, of all the cost of the new home at 2,500, maybe we can do it, right? Sometimes we can stretch the ratios.
Yeah.
So let's say FHA will let you do let's say if you have car payments, they'll let you have those expenses, the new home, plus the car payment can go up to 57%. So FHA sometimes stretches people. You know what? Maybe the car. You have maybe 2 years left. So it's
Right.
liability
They're like-
now, but will be waived off. Sometimes it's possible. If you really, talk about FHA is in a way, semi-government programs, right? Because Federal Housing Authority sets up the guidelines. And again, for people who had some troubles with credit payments in the past, sometimes it could be a good vehicle. Mortgage insurance is much better.
It's really a good one. Since they changed the proration on the mortgage insurance, it makes sense to go with FHA.
It could be half.
So what's the
It's
like
a
the best
help.
products right now? What do you see? Adjustable rates, 15 years old, loans, FHA. What's the suggestion right now? What's the best?
So you see from the perspective
Close.
from the buyers how much
Yes.
they make money. It makes sense to go 30 years because a lot of people don't qualify for 15 years.
Just
Still,
go
the
30-year
rates are- and
fixed,
there's the-
conventional. Yeah.
Listen, there's no one answer. Okay, the question is, what matters to you? You know what I mean? If I can put you in the best interest rate, so I mean, I'm doing right now a loan, somebody who's buying first time,
Yeah.
they have, full 20%, I'm getting them, just roughly the interest rate in mid fives, but they're paying for that rate and it's a 15-year loan. It does not mean that it's for everybody. The interest rate does
Yeah.
not, again,
Yeah.
there's APR is much higher. So there's a lot to it. But for some people who really want to buy that rate down, they can really do it, right? I mean, that makes sense.
How
But
much can you buy down? 2%? Up to 2%?
rate?
Yeah.
Right. So you can probably,
But it depends on the purchase price. If you're buying condo 150, it's not going to be the same
Yeah.
points as you buy the single family.
What's the lowest price I can buy?
price?
price?
It depends on
Mortgage.
your
Can I
down
get a
payment.
mortgage for 20,000?
well, I can give you 0% interest rate. All you have to do is pay 100% in cash home and a 0% interest rate. So that's,
I don't need you for that. 0% interest for that. That's just cash.
there's no cash to
No,
it.
is there like a price point, like $70,000 or something? Can you finance? No,
80 something.
80.
No,
loan amount.
we can finance even 50, 60,000. It needs to be, we need to work some of the fee structure probably with the title company because most of the companies won't be able to close you. I don't think there's anything else for sale for 50,000.
I mean, if you go far away, you can find something.
For
But
15,000?
50.
No, 50.
50.
There's
Okay, but yeah,
land.
Well,
But
we
can you
don't
finance? You
the
don't
land.
finance
Yes.
land. You gotta buy cash. Okay. So what's gonna happen soon? What is your mortgage community talking about? The rates and everything. You said before we started going that the Q1 in 2025 is gonna look good. Why?
Well, I think the census is right now that, and again, it's like analysts are putting the projections, and unfortunately, it's going to be it's a lot of times they're off.
But I remember 2020, we spoke on the phone, and you said, "Looks like 2021 is going to be a great year." And I'm like, it's the first time I've heard you tell me that. I'm like, okay, good. Lubo says it's going to be good. And I remember 2021 was a great year, and I remember, like, how did you know that?
Yeah. I think
you got these analysts there
listen,
that know.
We don't have a crystal clear. You just have to kind of project, I mean, the interest rates have gone up, right? So,
but they're going to start coming down.
Do you expect higher interest rates?
No.
If inflation is going to be, cooling off, interest rates probably should not go higher. I mean, if you see some economy all of a sudden, more job creation, higher inflation, you know what, then it's an issue. You'll see higher interest rates, okay? But right now, I think it's cooling off. There's again, it's a year of election, so I think things should be stable. Probably next year, again, next 6 months or so, the projections are we should see a little bit better rates. You're not going to see threes, okay? Within the next year, you're not going to see threes, but probably below 7 is a good number. And again, one thing that we don't know, again, just like economy, just like anything else, is cyclical. There are ups and there are downs, and people who bought home, and again, on our part, for the client base that we have, you're watching this, there will be this opportunity to refinance, right? I mean, I don't know if it's going to be low 6 or below 6 or 5s. It will come, and nobody's going to pinpoint when it's going to happen. It's going to happen. My indication is we should have strong buyers market still even next year. I mean, there's just a lot of people just we talk to a lot of people who renting right now, rents are expiring towards the end of the year, again, people just preparing. So I think still next year should be 2025, should be a strong year with hopefully a little bit better tailwind. So better interest rates. It's coming, but I mean, we had a great market. Can't complain it. There are some great opportunities, especially if you're looking, maybe you're comparing just existing residents, and you have to agree with me. Sometimes you go to a new construction, maybe you have to wait for that home, but the builders can knock down some nice incentives in this market.
Yeah.
So if if location, you can find a nice location, take that opportunity, because there are some markets that people pulled out from the new construction. Yeah. Builders have inventory and they want to move it, and you can get great incentives. So again, I see stability. I see better rates. I don't see crazy lower rates. But
so what we're talking about is right now is the hardest time for the buyer in terms of mortgage rates. We probably at the peak.
Yeah, hardest rates.
Currently at the peak.
November of last year.
So from this point, we're going to only see the sun and beautiful rates.
Yes.
It's going to be compared to what we've seen, because I've seen on a statement, closing disclosure, at the closing, 8.6 was the highest number I've seen.
November of last year. December of last year.
8.6. It was an investment property, conventional loan, 8.6. It's expensive.
And again, options, you know what I mean?
The 6.5 is a crazy deal for this new that person who bought it for 8.6. They refinance. They got $300 less probably payment, or maybe even more, depends on the price.
I mean, listen, as far as you talk about just general market, availability of credit. Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, it's relatively speaking, there are opportunities, right, for everybody. Mm-hmm. If you're putting low down payment, maybe you're self-employed, you're taking deductions which you cannot show income. There are options. Okay. Fix and flip. We're talking about, there are some in your business, there are some individuals who want to do, fix and flip, which means you buy a home, get the interest rate for that short term. Is it going to be more expensive? It's higher than, the interest rate will be higher than 10%. But you'll have that loan almost ready for you, like a pre-approved. You go find the property. It's very fast closing. There are credit options. It's not that we're talking about, what was it, 2008, where there was a credit squeeze. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm speaking as of today. I mean, there are opportunities for every buyer as long as they look for their goals. So again, go do the homework, look what, hear what others are saying, but, go select your own path. That would be what, my suggestion for everybody.
So the good news is that we're at the peak. From this point, we're going to start seeing lower rates, which is going to help people. Why are you smiling? What's the fun?
We all hope.
That's what we hope for this.
Yeah.
Oh, we hope.
Beginning
Oh,
this year.
I
We're
mean,
expecting for the lower rates.
I
beginning
feel the
this
same
year,
way.
yeah.
You know, I think that the only thing is that the prices keep going up. So far, that's what we're seeing. I don't know if that's all at this point organic or a little bit artificial, because at 8% rates, we still have multiple offers and people fighting over homes. I don't know if there's going to be a moment where it's like influx of inventory just starts happening and then it starts coming down real fast. Because if the inventory shows up all of a sudden, I don't see the indicators yet, but I keep an eyes open, then it's going to be fast trend down. You know? So.
Well, as we say, you know, for there will be always opportunities. You know, we just be prepared for it. And again, with everything, you know, all other factors, you know, even a first-time home buyer, I mean, don't overextend yourself. You know, I mean, that's, you know, be at a comfort level.
The one thing is that if you're buying for yourself and if you are comfortable with the payments, you will be able to withstand the storm. Yeah. You're going to be okay. And 40% of homes are right now paid off. And people that are buying homes are well qualified with high credit scores and putting real money down. So it's not like it was in, you know, 2000s where no money down, the rates jumps. Okay, take it. I don't need it.
People still could afford it, but it was a different scenario. You know, people put zero money, zero interest on it. You
Yeah.
know, the home went down by $500.
I don't need it.
You don't hear the keys, right?
Yeah.
That was
Yeah, you need a skin in the game to stay in the game. All right, thanks so much. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you.
And thanks for covering this interesting topic. Want to educate our listeners on what's happening in the market. If we see any adjustments, we always try to keep them informed. Thank you very much for your time, and subscribe and comment for good content.